Hey, what's up guys, Will here for GSM Arena. The Galaxy S24 series phones are Samsung's current flagships, and even the vanilla S24 brings a lot to the table. But then there's the S24 Plus available. It's the larger sibling, nearly the size of the top model, the S24 Ultra. Are there any differences feature-wise between the S24 and S24 Plus, and which is the better one to get? Let's put these two phones head to head and find out. The Samsung Galaxy S24 is the cheapest way to get a new S-series flagship, but the S24 Plus does bring a few key differences for the price. You might prefer one model or the other, depending on the size of your hands. The Plus is both taller and thicker, and weighs about 30 grams more. Besides that, the two phones bring an identical design. You get a flat back with a matte finish, and separated camera rings. The frame is made of a new, tougher armor aluminum, and both the back and front are protected by Gorilla Glass Victus 2. Another thing setting the two phones apart are the displays. They're both 120Hz AMOLEDs, but the S24 Plus's is not only larger, but is higher res, with a QHD resolution. This means the picture is sharper, at 513 ppi versus 416 on the vanilla S24. And besides that, the larger display gives you a bit more screen space. Still, both phones' screens are great. They have slimmer bezels this year, plus they have very accurate colors, and support for HDR10+ video content. Both phones have about the same excellent max brightness as well. We measured around 780 nits with the manual slider, which could boost to over 1400 nits in auto mode when exposed to bright conditions. And when it comes to refresh rate, both phones are extra adaptive, and can dial from 120Hz down to 24Hz to save energy while idling. Besides the screens, the battery size is different too. It's 4900 mAh on the S24 Plus versus 4000 mAh on the S24. The difference in our battery tests wasn't big though. The S24 earned an active use score of 12 hours and 6 minutes, while the S24 Plus earned a score of just 12 hours and 30 minutes. This may be because it has to deal with a larger QHD screen. Like previous generations, the vanilla S24 only gets support for 25-watt charging, while the S24 Plus's is 45 watts. In our testing, the S24 was able to charge from 0 to 59% in 30 minutes, while the S24 Plus achieved 74% in the same amount of time. A full charge on the S24 took an hour and 15 minutes, versus just under an hour on the Plus model. As far as the chipset goes, with both S24 models, Samsung is using a different chipset depending on the market. In the USA, Canada, or China, you get a phone with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, while elsewhere it would have an Exynos 2400. Both our S24 and S24 Plus have an Exynos chipset. It provides a similar level of next-gen performance to the Snapdragon one, including improved ray tracing for games, and a powerful NPU for advanced AI-based tasks. One difference worth mentioning is that the S24 Plus comes with 12 gigs of RAM, whereas the S24 has 8 gigs. Still, in terms of performance scores, the S24 Plus and S24 manage almost identical numbers, and you shouldn't be disappointed with either one. Finally, only on the Galaxy S24 can you get a cheaper 128GB storage option, but this one is a slower UFS 3.1, not 4.0. And that's about it for the major differences. I'll briefly go over a few more features which are the same between the two phones. Both S24 models have stereo speakers with very good loudness. They have practically identical audio systems with the same sound quality. And all of Samsung's new flagships bring the same software package, One UI 6.1 running over Android 14. They pack plenty of AI-based features, and the S24 flagships get the promise of 7 years of software support from Samsung. If you want to learn more about One UI 6.1's specific features, you can check out our dedicated video. Now we have the cameras, which are the same for the third year in a row. Both the S24 and S24 Plus have a 50-megapixel main cam, a 10-megapixel 3x zoom, and a 12-megapixel ultra-wide camera. As expected, since both of the phones have the same chipset and cameras, the quality is pretty much identical. Let's have a brief look at some camera samples anyway. Photos in broad daylight are hard to find fault with. They offer great detail, contrast, and dynamic range. Colors are on the vibrant side, but not off the charts. The S24 generation introduces a bit more contrast than the previous one, and sharpening has been toned down. The more restrained processing this year has resulted in a bit of a grainier texture. Predictably, the S24 and S24 Plus capture very good low-light images as well. Exposures are well judged, and dynamic range is nicely wide. The processing has a balanced approach that doesn't turn night into day. The grain we saw during the daytime is present at night as well, though the level of retained detail helps us appreciate the trade-off. And here's a comparison of the selfies taken with either phone. Again with the same camera, a 12-megapixel one with autofocus. Finally, videos taken with either phone come out with great quality. Here's a look at some clips taken from each of their cameras, in 4K resolution. So there you have it guys, the more affordable Galaxy S24 versus the larger S24 Plus. You might want to go for the S24 if you want the S24 series feature set but within a more compact form factor, and it's around $200 less if we compare the 256GB versions. There are some advantages of getting the S24 Plus though, the larger, higher-res display, more RAM, faster charging, and even the somewhat niche ultra-wideband support. Besides the size though, the other differences are minor, so in the end it just boils down to how big of a phone you prefer, and your budget. Otherwise, both of these Galaxy phones deliver the same experience. Let us know what you think, and I'll see you on the next one.